quickly. Please refrain from raising hands because it covers my screen and I can't see it. If I ask you to, obviously, then you can participate. But questions, and I go intermittently and have questions answered. So, okay. So Automatic Manifesting and Law of Assumption by Joseph Alai, obviously. So a little bit about me. As I said, I'm 30 years old. I love teaching manifesting, but I love more studying it, finding patterns and discovering things that really have kind of been overlooked, the more intricate details, which is what that's my obsession. Essentially, it's been my obsession for a very long time. So the goal is to systemize and demystify manifestation. And that's just the goal. So the idea, what I want to do essentially in the end is have the group growing larger and larger and larger so that and even those who have stigma against things like this, things like me, myself, I had a stigma against really mystical, like woo-woo type stuff. And so that's my idea, is to take that stigma away and just put it into the applicable terms so people can get what they want. And so far, there's been a lot of success over this. My YouTube channel is Divine Imagination. My website's josephallaiandcybermind.com. And this is all tried and tested, obviously. What I do is I gather data from all the people I speak to, all the surveys I give out, and I find the patterns, and then I basically culminate things like this. It's also from my own personal experience. So the idea is to think, what is it that you want? Right? What is it that you want? What is it that you want you haven't got? And it could be multiple things. It could be, what are you trying to manifest? What are you trying to manifest? These are just things to think about. Hold this in your mind. What seems to have been gotten in the way? I'm getting a hand raised here. If you'll please not ask questions until I ask, please. Because it pops up and then things like this happen, I'll get stuck. So please, no raised hands, no questions asked until I will stop intermittently for questions every few slides, as you'll see. Okay. And then one other thing I'd like to bring up is questions. Keep all questions in the Q&A. Do not post questions in the chat. Something that happened previously is that people were answering other people's questions because they were being asked in the chat, and the questions answered are not. Hey, Tony, can you please stop clicking the raise your hand button? It keeps popping up and it's very distracting. If you answer other people's questions, it becomes very confusing, and the confusion has the, and then I've gotten some complaints that people were answering questions. So please keep the Q&A in the Q&A, not on the general chat, so that I can have a chance to answer it. So what do you desire? What is it that you want? What is it that you've been trying to manifest? It doesn't have to be one thing. It could be multiple things. Think about this in your mind and just contemplate that for a split second. What are you after? And then when that question comes in, just think about this. What in your mind seems to be going wrong? What in your mind seems to get in the way? What seems to get in the way? Okay. So the outline for this is basically going to be about what is automatic manifesting, what is the law of assumption and beliefs, and how does that play into manifesting in our reality. And then we're going to find out how to target assumptions, and then we're going to find out how to create your new reality. Does that make sense? Raise your hand. Perfect. So the reason behind this is essentially what I found over, I mean, this is a common pattern, right? It's like we have the video I released on injecting the subconscious mind is basically touching this, which is, it's basically beliefs, doubts, insecurities, all these, or fears or indecisions generally get in the way, right? So what I've seen and what I used to do myself is, if you imagine your end and you imagine it just as it is, if I wanted $1 million and I imagine having $1 million, and then and I want it to come to me, but if I have like thousands of beliefs behind me that are like, you know, you can't do anything right, you can't make money, you lose all your money, Money's hard to come by. It takes tremendous amount of work to get any money. Everyone's out to get me with money. Everyone's trying to take my money. You get the point. If all those things exist behind the scenes, then the way from which your manifestation unfolds, or the thought processes behind when you're trying to manifest, you can have obsessive thoughts of the contrary of what you're trying to manifest, right? So if I'm trying to imagine $1 million, but I have these obsessive thoughts, which are all the ones I named, like I'm a failure, I'm this, I'm that, it's going to be difficult to keep that as the target of your desire. And the other aspect is, and this happens a lot with specific person, if I have all these fears, insecurities, jealousies, doubts, whatever, so I keep saying to myself, I'm not good enough, she's going to leave me, she's really special and I'm not, she's going to find somebody or she's going to leave me in 6 months, but I'm still trying to manifest my desire. The problem is that it's absolutely possible to achieve what we want, but if we have those assumptions, we never take care of them, then this is what I see. They get their specific person and then boom, it falls apart again because they've never dealt with the beliefs inside their mind. And in that same token, the beliefs in the first place could have been what have destroyed the relationship in the first place. Can anyone relate to that? Does everyone get that? Okay. I mean, that's common, right? So automatic manifesting, what is it? What is automatic manifesting? Automatic manifesting consists of all of our beliefs, ideas, judgments. So this is automatic, right? What I mean by automatic, let me start there actually. What is automatic manifesting? So the world is woven together. It's in a perpetual state of perfection, but perfection means it's all manifested outward. So everything that exists right now is perfect, but it's perfect in alignment with your thoughts, right? So even if you're not deliberately trying to manifest something big or something small or deliberately trying to manifest anything at all, we are continuously manifesting this world in its perfect order right now, in its perfect order. So it will always reflect perfectly our mind. It will be balanced perfectly. So therefore, you could say if you change your beliefs, then you'll change the world. You'll change the way that you're encountered. What it means is everything that's in our world right now is manifested. All the people, events, things that go well, things that go wrong, everything, even your beliefs, even not your beliefs, even the thoughts that are obsessive are all manifested as well, or your good thoughts are manifested by your beliefs. So what I'm trying to say here is that this world in its perfection is a perfect manifestation of all our thoughts. But what that means is that each thought, each belief individually manifests something. So for instance, I could have 1,000, 1,000,000 beliefs in me, right? And it could be everything that I do, everything that I buy has to be gray, right? So what happens? That means I'll buy this couch and it'll be gray, right? But it's not that I'm even necessarily aware of it. It's just that it's behind me. It's behind in my mind, in my subconscious. So automatic is more based off of subconscious beliefs. Does that make sense? Okay. Does everyone see why it might be important to change our beliefs? Okay. So it's operated through the law of assumption. The law of assumption is basically saying that whatever we assume, whatever we believe, whatever our judgments are, that will be manifested. We are always doing this. There's no way to stop doing this. Our very nature is to create. And so we are gifted. So instead of looking at it as a curse, like, oh, my world is shaped from my beliefs, so I'm screwed, the way that we should turn that and flip that around is, whoa, The world is created by all my beliefs. It's held together by my beliefs. Let me change my beliefs so I can change the world. I can change my experience. I can get whatever I want. I can make money easy. My relationships can be easy. I have friends, lovers that are perfect. So we can set our own, our own assumptions. And then here's the trick, right? So the idea, and I want to make sure you guys comprehend this, because this is what the nature of this workshop is going to be. We can look at this world. So, okay, put aside the idea of beliefs for a moment, right? Because we may never know the belief inside of us. But what we can do is we can look at the way that the world works, right? We can look at our current state of affairs, and we can reverse engineer it to find out what our beliefs would be. Because every manifestation must be attached to something that we've created. Everything in this world is manifested, so we must be the manifester, right? In our experience, our personal globe, our world. Does that make sense to reverse engineer? Okay, perfect. So I just want to say something real quick. For those of you who are using the chat, if you can use the Q&A instead, and then hold off your questions. I know I'll probably have to say this a few more times. So the Q&A is different than chat. Okay. So what I'm saying, so this is a very critical point. I'm going to repeat this one more time because of the Q&A that I just received on the chat. So this world is all manifested by our thoughts. We may not be aware of the thoughts. It may be our beliefs, it may be our feelings, it may be our judgments, it may be our memories. But this world, those things in our mind are continuously manifesting outward this world. So basically what that means, if we don't know the belief that's causing us dismay, then we can reverse engineer. We can say, oh, well, okay, so this event happened. This person broke up with me, or everyone in my life keeps cheating on me. So then that means, what would be the belief that would be true if it was manifesting that event? So in other words, I may have a belief in me that's something like everyone leaves me or everyone cheats on me, and that's what's manifesting the experiences in my life. So the idea of this workshop is to look at the things that are happening in our life, and then we can reverse engineer it to the belief, and then we can change the belief. Okay. So as I said, opinions, judgments, memories, expectations, perceptions, and beliefs. These are the aspects of us that are creating automatically, right? Now, we can deliberately choose something and manifest it, but all of these things in our subconscious mind, these opinions, judgments, memories, expectations, perceptions, and beliefs are all continuously going, they're operating, and they're manifesting outward. So we've got to go in there, change and create new beliefs that are amazing, and then you begin to change your world. So an example real quick would be, I used to have a scarcity mindset. I actually had trouble receiving money. Every every business venture that I set out to do failed. And so what I had to do is I had to say, okay, they're failing. So what does that mean about me? That means somewhere I'm believing that money's hard to get. I'm believing that it's hard to be a success. I'm believing that there's competition. And so what you do is you go in and you create the opposite, and you create something like, money comes to me easily and effortlessly. I receive 5 times the amount that I spend. All my business ventures are perfect. Everything I touch turns to gold. So that would be an example of how I reversed engineered and then modified and then manifested outward. And then ever since then, everything has been successful. Does that make sense? Raise your hand. Okay, great. Awesome. That's the response that I wanted. Great. Okay. Operated through law of assumption, matter of fact. So, okay, what's an assumption? An assumption is like a general matter of fact belief. The way we could tell what our beliefs are through our judgments. So if you say to yourself, oh, that's bad. If someone does something and it annoys you, if someone does something and you think that's bad, or making conclusions. We make conclusions based on all of our beliefs. So, or what we think we know, right? I just know that this is true. I just know that the world is a bad place. I just know that all men are mean. I just know that all politicians are corrupt. I just know that people are treated unfairly. Those are perfect examples of beliefs that we believe to be true. Now, here's the thing. All the beliefs in our mind, they will become true. So even if they're false when we believe them, they become true, which is why it's important to choose our beliefs. If we're choosing limited beliefs such as people treat me unfairly, I'm held down, I'm not good enough, people leave me, all these different things, we choose these beliefs and then they manifest outward. Does anyone see how that can be negative to have negative beliefs? Raise your hand. Perfect. Beliefs, knowing. And so, yeah. So basically what I'm trying to do is describe, I'm trying to describe what an assumption is. So an assumption, in other words, is a matter of fact or a belief or a judgment. So that's just because these words, although they have slight variation of meaning, all in the end, they come down to our beliefs. So we're always doing this, right? It's the glue of stability. It's the glue of the universe. It's the glue of our experience. The more beliefs we have, the more rigid our reality becomes. The more beliefs we have, the more we know. There's a piece of hair on me. The more we know, the more rigid our reality becomes. The less is possible. Is anyone confused by what that means? So basically what it means is if I believe that the world works this way, it works that way, it works this way, people are this way, statistics say this, science says this, the past is rigid, you can't change it, the future you can't change, everything has to be done in a certain way. It will be so hard to navigate that world and to get what you want. But if I instead said, all things are possible, oh, I'm not sure if that's true, or I don't know if I want to believe that, that's when you gain the power. Because then all things become possible. When you imagine, it's not being, your manifestations don't have to come through rigid beliefs. So for me, I had a thick head, man. I was right all the time. I knew everything. It was so hard for me to break through. But I realized all that stuff in the end was like, oh, that's limiting me, man. So some assumptions are triggered, right? So some beliefs are triggered when certain criteria is met. For instance, when I used to get into a relationship, I would become insecure, then obsessed, and then they would break up with me, or I would break up with them, and I was helpless. Can anyone relate to this in any capacity? Perfect. But once I used to get out of the relationship, I would forget about that pain. I would subside to my normal state, and then it would all be good. Can anyone relate to that? Exactly. But the problem is when I would get back into a relationship again, it would trigger those same insecurities, and then the same thing would repeat itself. So some are triggered, which is why we need to go in and figure it out and change them. Operating. So as I said in the beginning, the idea is to create new assumptions, to reverse engineer old by the way that the world works, and then change the world and the experience. And one thing that's worth mentioning is the idea, because this is very much necessary to go into this. I added this slide after the fact, but everyone is you pushed out. So that means that everyone in the world must conform to our beliefs, which is why our beliefs are ruling the world. They're creating the world, which is why you may be experiencing things that you don't like, because it's a belief making those people in your world conform to the beliefs inside of you. In other words, people in your life are doing what you want them to do. Now, if they're doing stuff you don't like, then you've got to go about changing your beliefs because they're all conforming to it. Does that make sense? And that's where the power comes. All right, I'll take 5 or so questions right now. Q&A, Q&A, Q&A. I'll take a couple questions about that section particularly. So give solid examples about what? What we choose belief because it first reflects a reality, right? If you have a question, please phrase it into one concise question. Can other people's belief affect your world? So we should never think about the way that we are being influenced by others. Never. The power comes from within. Any idea that someone outside of ourselves is influencing us is giving away your power. So in other words, never worry about that. What we're worried about is our beliefs, because here's the thing, the world must conform to our beliefs. If something is too far outside the realm of our beliefs, then what I believe is that we will switch dimensions until that thing or person will become the person that will conform to our beliefs. So what if you don't know what triggers you? We're going to go into that. That's a good question. How do you apply this to your adult kids? It applies to everything. We just have to take the blame ourselves, because then we get the power ourselves. This applies for everything and everyone. So I am seeing myself as God. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that question. How did you change those negative beliefs about failing at relationships? I will get into that. I will get into that once we get into application. This is all the theory behind it, but I will go into exactly how it's done. How do we make our minds more flexible? By choosing beliefs which allow them to be more flexible. There's beliefs that you can choose. And we will get into that. How can we change people's health when they are told they are allergic to certain items? All things are possible. All we have to do is create the belief, and the rest will change. All we have to do is imagine. We don't have to worry about what other people are believing. We have to worry about what we want, and then they will conform to that. Can we just assume that we are God and have no limiting beliefs or assumptions to make manifesting seamless? It's possible that the answer is yes, but if you're finding that your obsessive thoughts are coming in, then it's proof that there's other work to be done. Would you say the hardest part in all of this is changing beliefs for good on the subconscious level? For me, that is the hardest part. So the idea that it's hard is what makes it hard. And think about that. Literally, if you can shut off the senses and impress the subconscious, your subconscious will do the work. You don't have to worry about making yourself believe it. But if you saturate your mind enough with what you want instead of what you don't want, in the moments when you're peaceful, if you imagine or choose to impress beliefs on your mind, the subconscious will accept them. And whether or not the next day you start feeling like crap, there's a bridge of incidents that unfolds that will begin to change you. The world will begin to change, and you will begin to become that person. Does a new assumption have its own appointed hour? Yes. Great question. Everything does. So, but a lot of them is fast too, you know? Recording new beliefs and playing before you go to sleep will actually help solidify the new beliefs, right? It will help impress the subconscious mind. So the question is, recording the beliefs and playing them before you sleep will actually help solidify the new belief. The answer to that is yes, but the idea is that the subconscious mind will accept them, and then something will happen that we are unaware of where we will begin to become that. So we don't have to worry about bombarding ourselves. We only have to worry about touching the subconscious mind and impressing, because that's accepted by awareness and will manifest outward. Okay. Why I imagine something but get opposite. So it could have to do with your beliefs, which is what we're going to get into. We're going to get into the exact ideas behind it. What's the easiest way to remove limiting beliefs? quickly because they stuck in our subconscious mind for a long time. It doesn't matter. That's also a limitation. So think of this. If you're thinking, oh my God, this belief has been inside me for so long, that stuff is all subconscious. Subconscious is not conscious. You may be thinking about conscious, like, oh my God, it's so hard. But that's not what the subconscious thinks. The subconscious just accepts your directions and starts executing them. So it's not necessarily hard. That's just another belief that it's hard, right? So the easier you believe it is, the more it will be easy. All right, I'm going to do one more and I'm going to keep going. What are ways we can change our assumptions? What strategies do we use? I'll go, that's going to be in section 3 and 4. So I will get moving. Section 3 is going to be pretty fast. Section 2 is going to be pretty fast. Then section 3 is more reverse engineering. And section 4 is how to actually do this. If everyone is us pushed out, what about karma and other people in our lives have? So karma is also a subset of just manifesting and the law, not the law of attraction, the law of assumption. I'll get into that more of so I'm going to get into right now. I'm going to start right now. And I'm going to get into how this works from a Neville Goddard standpoint, what I've been shown that's true and which works by following this. If you can put aside some old beliefs, not destroy them or say they don't work, but to test this, you'll find that most power comes here. You'll find that you will receive more power. Okay. So the world, how it works, the world and its shapes. So awareness, this is the way that everyone is pushed out works. This is the way that, that Neville Goddard speaks about it. This is the way that I believe. This is the way that I've been given certain revelations and visions and mystical experience as to how this works. And so this is the way that I have found so just to touch on this for about 30 seconds is I used to, and I think everyone, because we're rooted in this world, that we believe and that we expect things to happen in a natural way, in a way that has to do with laws of nature, laws of physics. But when we get into manifesting, if we do it long enough, if we start to test this long enough, what we find to believe is that the idea that there's something like that there's laws of nature that are dictating this, that's all a side effect of manifesting itself. So there's the mind of awareness, which is what in the Bible is called God, or Hinduism talks about this, Buddhism talks about this. It's the one universal mind. So the idea is that we are all one, and that one awareness became us. Okay, each of us individually, independently. The universal mind or awareness abandoned himself or itself to become each of us independently. And in doing so, we feel like we have a separate self, but we're all attached to the same awareness. Now, the best way to perceive this and to realize that you don't have to use any effort, you don't have to convince anyone of anything, you don't have to manipulate someone to do something, you don't have to send out waves and someone has to accept them. Everyone is inside this same awareness because it's all same awareness. Now, the awareness is not just mind or thought. Awareness contains all of this within, and it's refracted out like a gem or a prism refracting light, right? So anything that we imagine, when we imagine it, it's accepted and it's refracted out in a continuous, perfect balance by awareness. Now, this is called God in the Bible. This is what Joe Dispenza often refers to as the field. But the truth is that we are inside it. We are it. We are that God. We cannot not be that God. But our ego tells us that we're separate or different, right? So in other words, God is the dreamer, or awareness is the dreamer. And we are inside the dream. We are all connected in the same dream. And just as we cannot, so right now, think for a second when you're dreaming. Think of the last dream that you can remember, that it was just a regular everyday dream. You cannot know what's really happening. You don't know that you're asleep on the bed. right? You're just in this dream and it's so real. Last night I was in a dream and I was being chased by the cops, right? I have those dreams often. But I did not know that I was sleeping on my bed. In the same way, we are this character. I'm Joseph Alai. You are who you are. We are the dream, and the dreamer whose awareness, we can't really know what that is. Just like we don't know the dreamer that's sleeping on the bed ourselves. So that's the theory that everyone is one. That's what it's talking about in the Bible. That's what it's talking about in Buddhism. That's what it's talking about in Hinduism. That's what it's talking about in Kabbalah. That's what it's talking about in all the non-dual standpoints, which is what I teach, which is what's given me most power. I've gone from the carnal ones, which is like vibration, alignment, all those other things. But the ones when I found the most power are these ones. And that's how everyone is just pushed out, because everyone has the same awareness. And just to drill it home, and then I'm going to push forward on this, is everything that we see right now, we see it with our senses. We feel it with our senses. We smell it through our senses. And our senses go through the mind, and the mind tells us something, right? So the mind and all this stuff is senses. It's all senses, right? And senses is known by awareness, right? So this is all only awareness. It's all awareness. So I know that's abstract, but I explained it like 20 different ways. Does that make kind of sense, right? It's not crucial or imperative to get that idea 100%, but I want to know if y'all can grasp that to an extent. It's basically we all share the same mind. So when I impress the subconscious mind, everyone is operated and moved to it. That's it. That's the basic thing. So it's not sending it out. It's automatically being accepted by awareness because we are awareness. And it's refracted out, right? So first comes awareness, then comes the world. That's the whole point. So awareness became us. So the way to see this is saying, I am aware. Who is this I that's aware of being Joe? I used to say to myself, and I remember reading this in Eckhart Tolle, he said he hated himself. Who's this I that hates this self? That's awareness. We all share that same one. We're just not aware of it because this is the dream. So suffice it to say, we're all connected. That's the premise. There's no separation between you and me. Let me see if there's anything else here. So I just explained this all there. So the idea is we impress upon awareness, and awareness refracts it out. So this whole reality right now is refracted by awareness. So all we have to do is to change this awareness is imagine it's accepted by awareness and then refract it out in this dreamlike projection. Okay. So that's why, just to sum it up, that's why our beliefs are constantly accepted by awareness and being refracted out. And that's the way from which our reality is shaped. That's how this all ties in together. Sorry about that. So, okay. Again, like I said, objective reality goes to senses, goes to mind, goes to knowing, goes to awareness, and it's a constant feedback loop. Then awareness pushes out to objective reality, and then reality again injects to the senses, injects to the mind. So if we want to create something, we go into the mind. And if we go into the mind, we can impress it upon awareness and it'll manifest outward. So instead of just allowing objective reality to continuously push in and then manifest outward, we're intervening and creating our own stuff, impressing it into awareness, and that will be manifested outward. Does everyone understand that process? Okay, I'm glad to know that. Perfect. So we're intervening in the natural process because we are the one who's doing this in the first place. So here's a very critical distinction. A critical thing is when we go somewhere in our imagination, we are traveling there in our imagination for a split second. And when we travel there, we're activating that dimension and then it must be expressed out, right? So as soon as it's activated, it's in a queue. It's in a perfect line. It's waiting. It's just waiting to be pushed out. It's like a queue of cars, one after the other after the other. When we imagine something, we activate that dimension. That dimension is in a queue. Now, we don't know how long that queue is. We don't know how many queues there are because some things manifest instantly, some things don't. But it will be pushed out in a perfect order. Does everyone understand that? which means we don't have to freak out and keep doing it. If we activate the dimension, it will eventually combine together. Enough things will be in the queue and manifest out. So if you mark it, it will create. Opinions matter, right? So your opinions changing, whatever opinion you make is based on your assumptions, right? So your assumptions and beliefs create your opinions. So if you're of the belief that, a certain politician, if you're of a certain beliefs and then you see a politician that triggers you, you'll judge him as bad or you'll judge her as bad. Not necessarily but that's just an overt explanation, right? So your opinions though, so your beliefs create your opinions and your opinions create your beliefs. But the beliefs need to be changed and then the opinion vanishes. Does that make sense? So in order to change the way that the world works, we must uproot our beliefs, which are uprooting opinions. All right, with that section specifically, and we're going to get into the actual demonstrations. Does anyone have any questions on that? Wow, that did not mean for that to happen. If every assumption has its own appointed hour, how do you cancel out negative assumptions so that it never happens? By just creating a new one. You just create a new one. Assumptions, okay, so the question is, if every assumption has its own appointed hour, how do you cancel out negative assumptions so that it never happens? The thing is that they are already happening over and over and over and over and over and over. So the idea is just to stop it by creating a new one. What if you believe that you did everything perfectly, but you still fail? What if you believe that you did everything perfect, but you still fail? So believing that you did everything perfect doesn't mean that you took the action, right? The subconscious mind is it doesn't care what's being impressed upon it. It just creates it. But if you're not taking the action to impress the subconscious mind properly, then it's not going to create it. So if you're believing that you're manifesting everything that you want, but you're not actually impressing your subconscious mind, then it doesn't matter because you're never going to manifest it out because you've never impressed your subconscious mind. So it's like saying bad beliefs don't create. Well, if you're still impressing your subconscious mind with bad beliefs, then they're still going to create. It doesn't matter if you believe that because the subconscious mind doesn't care what it's being impressed by. Can we create an assumption that all our specific manifestations come easily and without a turn of negative events? Like the story of your friend who was addicted and had to experience something bad. And yes, if we imagine and say everything came easily and effortlessly. So if I imagine something and say, I received $1 million and it came easily and excellent and effortlessly, and I'm so grateful for it, then that manifestation must happen in that fashion because our own limitations will be imposed on it. However, actually, I'll stop it there. That makes perfect sense. How do you stick with your new assumptions? So they will actually be activated and keep going. So the idea is to keep creating new assumptions over and over. The world will begin to change for your new assumptions, and you will begin to change for the new assumption. So there's no work to be done. We are not forcefully taking action. Our subconscious mind will give us those thoughts and actions. So you don't have to do a thing except for imagine. What if you're trying to cancel out a negative assumption, but you're still seeing confirmation of the old one? Is it just that it takes time to erase? Yes, and make sure you do not react to that old one so it doesn't impress again. Mental diet should be, I believe I am going to get that particular job. No, it should never be, I believe that I am going to. It's always, I have or I am. If you put it in the future tense, you'll probably never get it. By creating a new assumption to override the current reality, is it critical that you not react to your current reality? The answer to that question is leaning towards yes, but all things are possible. So no matter if you create an assumption that says, I don't react to negative things, that would be a better thing than just trying to not react. Okay. Is there a certain order that you change your beliefs? Like, should you change the negative first and the next the one that you want? You can do that, but sometimes they all come together and manifest in the same thing. So just take the action, because remember, there's no time and space. Okay. We're going down now. So the reverse engineering process. This is where you guys are going to have the most questions, so I'd like to get through this. So the idea is to find commonalities in the way that the world is working, and you ask yourself, what beliefs would exist if these were creating these events? What beliefs would exist if these were creating these events? And then we create beliefs. So, and I'm going to give you an example so it's not so abstract. So basically, if I keep stubbing my big toe on everything that I see, what belief would exist in me if it was creating this if it were creating this experiences? Perhaps it would be, I have big feet, or I am clumsy, or things always get in my way. Does that make sense? That part right there. Again, I'll repeat it though, because I'm glad you guys are getting this. But so it's like, if I keep stubbing my toe, then what would be the belief behind that? And it would be something like, everything gets in my way. And we might not know this, but the idea is to start thinking about this. Everything is getting in my way. I have big feet. I always hurt myself. I always stub my toe every single day. Could be any of those. And so that's step one. And step two is to create a belief that would override it, such as, I am agile. I am so sure-footed. I walk perfectly. I am in perfect health. Anything, like I am always aware of everything. I have cat-like reflexes. If we create these beliefs, we don't need to know the negative, but we have to speculate what the negative are, and then we create the new ones, and it will erase that. So if people keep leaving me, if my specific person keeps leaving me, if I keep losing money, if I keep having obsessive thoughts, I then say to myself, what would be a belief inside me right now that thinks this? Why am I obsessing over this? Oh, maybe it's that I think I'm not good enough, or I think everyone leaves me, or I think that people get what they want from me and they leave, or I think I'm not good looking, right? It could be so simple. And we don't need to know this 100% sure. We may strike a chord though, but we think about what it would be, and then we create something that would wipe it out. All people stay with me when I'm in a relationship. I am very confident in my relationships. Everyone is attracted to me equally as I'm attracted to them. Do you see what I did there? Raise your hand. Beautiful. Beautiful. That's great. So now how do we go about creating these beliefs, man? And what do I need to do? We need to examine what's going on. What's in the world? What am I thinking about? What am I fearing? This should not be number 3. This should be number 5. Whatever. Number 5. And this will be number 3. I know that's going to be confusing, but just keep that in mind now. Examining your desires, examining your thoughts. When we can do this, we can find commonalities and be like, oh, maybe there's a belief that's making me think obsessively. Maybe there's a belief that's even driving my desires. Like, for instance, if I can't hold on to money, maybe my desire is billions, but what the hell? What if I still can't hold on to money? So even looking at everything, we can start to see our beliefs and create new beliefs. Does that make sense? Okay. So now think about it, right? What seems to be getting in the way, right? And it could be things in the world. It could be your thoughts. What beliefs are about difficulty? What's your fears of things happening, right? You can reverse engineer this back and then start saying to myself, okay, if I'm afraid that I'm going to be left. And I know I'm beating the dead horse a little bit here, guys, but I think the examples are going to be beneficial. The fears of, so if I'm afraid that someone's going to leave me, if I'm afraid that I'm not good enough, if I'm afraid that I will never get the vacation I need, if I'm afraid that I'll always be in debt, if I'm afraid I'll never be successful, if I keep having these fears, what's the solution? The solution is to create new beliefs that override them, right? Step 4 is going to be good for you guys. I mean, section 4, because I'm going to tell you exactly how to do this. But is everyone with me? Okay, perfect. So the idea, and I just want to say, and I think I say this in here, but the idea is we want to write these things down, and the workbook correlates with this perfectly, because what you'll be able to do is, now we don't want to write these things down with extreme emotion or feeling. A jotting is much better, something that's pithy, unemotional completely. Even if we wrote down a general idea of it, we don't want to keep reinforcing this back in our mind. So we don't want to dwell upon and start picking apart our past and living it over and over again. And if you don't want to write it down, it's fine. If you know already what you can think these things are, then that's fine. The idea is eventually what we're going to do is we're going to write down the beliefs that counteract these. Okay. So some good things to think about are, and you would go ahead and this is okay to list it down, but again, try not to be like crying and emotional or being like, oh, I hate my life. Just say, when you're writing this down, you can even write it down in the opposite tense, or you can say, this used to happen to me, such as like, if you find that people get in a relationship with you, but then they change, you could say, people used to get into a relationship with me and change. Or what has your life been like? I used to be in poverty. I used to have obsessive thoughts. People used to treat me poorly. Everything used to go wrong, right? And that's a way of writing it down so we can jot down what we actually need to do without going into specific detail and reliving it over and over again. What has continuously failed? I used to fail in business. And then also, give yourself credit. What has succeeded, right? I always did good at speaking. I always was able to get through to people, right? And so the reason we list all these things down, these may not seem to be beliefs. They are beliefs in essence, right? These things that have happened can be traced back to beliefs sometimes, and they're generalizations. But the idea behind this is then we go in, we figure out what the belief would be like if all these things were true, and then we change them. Okay, I know I keep asking, does it seem like I'm beating the dead horse, or is this good? So again, we look at the people in our life, okay? We look at the people in our life. We say, are these people negative? What are they talking about? Are we talking about drama and gossip and politics and limitation and I'm suppressed and he's suppressed and she's doing this wrong and this person controls my life? The people in our life, it's not that they're to blame. It's that something's alive inside of us that perpetuates this, right? If we can go into the root and modify those things by writing them down to new beliefs, then everything in the world will change. So, okay. So there's that. Look at your financial affairs, all these things. I don't know if you guys can see the pattern here, but basically what I'm trying to do is say, look at the general events that have happened in your life. Does that make sense? Perfect. And we want to eventually write these down. And then again, back to the reverse engineering. I know I've beat this in now, but what belief would exist if these were true? If everyone keeps leaving me, what beliefs? You know what? This should actually be beliefs, Because generally we don't know. We can't actually know the thing that's creating, right? We can't know the things of the subconscious mind. We can't know the things of God. But what we can do is we can find patterns. And that's what I do. I find patterns. We may not be able to find the exact belief, but what belief would exist if this were not true? So this is when we start to flip it around. Now, if I say in my mind, I have this belief that all women leave me after 2 months, right? And that's a pattern that's happened in my life. What would be the belief? Maybe that's just the belief itself. People don't stick around, or there's something wrong with me. So people find that out and leave eventually, or I'm too clingy. And so people push themselves away. Now what we're trying to do here is create an example such as what belief would exist if this were not true. So if I don't push people away, then that means everyone loves being around me. All women I date love being around me. All women whom I am involved with continuously are kind and interested in me. There's something special about me that keeps women captivated in me in our relationships. Do you see how if I created those things, the bad things could never exist anymore? Do you see that? And again, your desires. We think about what are we actually wanting? What have we been wanting? Now, this is why I bring this up. When the person who wants freedom, they're imagining money, really what they want is financial freedom. But financial freedom will accumulate money for them, right? So do you see how there's a belief that's different here? So it's like, what do you want? Sometimes by what we want, we think of what the problem is, right? A lot of people say, I want to win the lottery. But the problem is that they just can't get money, and they think money is hard to come by. And they think they have to win the lottery in order to be free like that. So oftentimes they'll win the lottery, and you've seen this. How many people have seen people win the lottery and then they lose it all in like 2 years because they spend it on knife collections or become drug addicts or whatever. It happens all the time. And the reason being is because they never actually change that assumption within. And that's what we're talking about here. Hey, something beautiful has been happening. A lot of people now that have been watching me for a while, the people who have actually been putting this to the test and have like put away the limiting other things, have been manifesting their specific people rapidly. I think today and yesterday I got 5 emails of people manifesting their specific person. Every once in a while, someone says they manifested them, but then they like crushed it out again through their thoughts. And that's why. It's the same reason why the lottery winner cannot keep his winnings. It's because there's a series of beliefs inside of him that gives it all away. And that's what we're doing here. So the idea is we want to get down to the root of the problem. That's basically it. And again, I know I'm beating the dead horse, but another way to look at it is what thoughts flood your mind. He's with someone else. She's with someone else. He's never going to come. I'm a piece of crap. I can't get a good job. I'm not good enough. I deserve $4 an hour. This is what we're talking about. We've got to go in and create beliefs that modify all these things, right? So there's beliefs behind it. So if instead we said, I always receive whatever I want, I deserve money, everyone loves me, everyone finds me interesting, I have the highest self-esteem, I am so charismatic and lovely that no one can resist me, right? So these beliefs, if we create these, we can impress them and manifest them outward. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Who's excited to figure out how to do it? Woo, 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 woo. Everyone click it like 10 times. See what happens. See if it explodes. Oh my God, stop clicking. Okay. We good? Good. Checking time here. Perfect. So now, Q&A. Go ahead. Couple seconds, couple questions real quick. Q&A. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. How long before our new beliefs change our mental diet? It could take a day, a week. What will begin to happen is you'll start to see it's not just your thoughts that will change. The world will change. So then the world will begin to change to make you believe this new thing. Can we control natural phenomenons like rain? Yes, that we can. I've done it. Accidentally, I've created typhoons, fires, I've purposely created rainy days, sunny days, temperature, clouds, all that stuff is creatable. There's no limit. It's all possible. It's all inside awareness. We are awareness, and so it's all ours. Is it like using affirmations daily? That's one way. Once you manifest something and it disappears again, does that mean the seed is uprooted and you need to start over? Not necessarily. But it could mean that you do have beliefs inside you that are snuffing them out, which is why you want to change your beliefs. How many people have had obsessive thoughts, have ruined a relationship, and what they're trying to do is imagine a relationship with this specific person, and that's it. Nothing else. They want that specific person. They want to be married. Okay, now how many people have been imagining changing beliefs when they want a specific person? Okay, good. Very good. That's really good. I'm actually really happy about that. So the idea is, and I've seen this sometimes, I'm not trying to put this out into the ether, but it's like, if we don't work on those beliefs, then it's like, then what changes? That thing triggered that changes these manifestations unfold again. The obsessive thoughts return. We manifest these bad things. So the idea is we want to focus a lot on this. How far back can one go with revision? Infinite. You can go back to the moment you're born, if you can remember that. I have been focused on assumptions for about 6 weeks, have at least 300. So what's the best way to instill this many? Here's an awesome thing. Even writing them down will set them into motion. Even writing them down. But when we go further in this section now, you're going to find that there's ways to impress them and jam them into your mind. How to impress easier on your subconscious mind when you're hyper aware, like over analytical. So you're not supposed to impress your subconscious when you're hyper analytical. You're supposed to shut down the senses. You're supposed to relax. If you're not relaxing and you're jumping straight into imagining, if you're doing it when you're anxious, that's doing it the wrong way. The right way is to wait until you feel okay. You relax, and then you imagine what you want, and you feel like you're really there. If you do not let go of this reality and you try to jump into another one, then you're never going to get it. When creating new beliefs, why do you have to go back to the past and look at the existing limiting belief in detail? You don't have to do that. The idea is to get a general idea of what is creating this event and then changing it. I get your question though. So basically what you're saying is, if I want to manifest a specific person and they left me, why do I have to think of my beliefs? Because otherwise the same beliefs manifest outward. The whole world is woven together by people often blind themselves with the object of their desire rather than look at the things that are creating. So what has to happen is we have to be semi-aware of what we want. So the reason this workshop came about is because there had been maybe 5 or 10 people that had messaged me and said, Joseph, I manifested my specific person, but then they left me again. What happened? It's because they never looked at their beliefs. They didn't want to look at anything bad. They were shutting it off. They were suppressing everything. They were showing it. I can't even think of the phrase. They were turning a blind eye, right? So we can't do that otherwise, unless we want to keep creating the same thing we've always created. Now, remember, all our world before manifesting is limitation, limitation, limitation. So when we jump into manifesting, the old beliefs are still there. So the idea is we want to have a general idea of what's happening so that we can go in and create what we want. So for instance, if people have left us, we don't just want to imagine them back. We want to create a new assumption to change the tree, which is manifesting the fruit. So there's a tree to manifesting, right? So if I imagine that you are my girlfriend, right? If I imagine that you are nice to me. So say you were mean, say you were a jerk, and I was manifesting that you are nice to me, then what will happen is you will be nice to me, but the rest of the world will be unchanged. So what I've done there is I've changed the fruit on the tree. but I have never changed the tree. So the fruit will change, but then it'll change back. It'll fall off, man. And the same tree will keep producing the same negative fruit, the garden of the mind. So we need to change the tree. And not only then will I change you to stop being a jerk to me, I will change the rest of the world too. So it's changing the tree to change the fruit on the tree. So everyone then must fit into my assumptions. Everyone must be nice. Every girl must like me. Every girl must be nice to me. I must be confident in everything. Does that make sense? Raise your hand if that makes sense. The fruit and the tree analogy. So we must know what is creating this fruit, and we must uproot it. Yes, we can, even if we just blanketed with 100 assumptions, like say for instance, I had obsessive thoughts, but I didn't feel like looking back at what was happening. It's possible if we created 1,000 new assumptions, we would overwrite the old, but it's way more effective to find the patterns of the past so we can target them, laser focused target, and uproot them. If you're afraid to look back, then that in and of itself is a fear that needs to be removed. The key to manifesting mastery is the past, in a sense. It's just to find patterns of what's going on and remove them, to find patterns of what's manifesting and change them and replicate them. Okay, here we go. Let's jump right into this now. Creating a reality. So now is the time when we identify the opposite to all the beliefs that we've written down. All those patterns that we found, we create the opposite of those, and those are going to be our new beliefs. Does everyone get that? We write them down. So writing them down in and of itself is enough to manifest outward. But what I want to talk about is subconscious mind tapes, imagining yourself, scripting, mental diet, and then any questions and answers. So first, so the opposite of your belief. I've already went over this 1,000 times. So what I want to start here is by saying, if you think you're not good enough, if the belief inside of you is saying everyone leaves me, then the solution would be everyone stays with me and it's amazing. So in this example, I am not good enough should be changed to I am the greatest and I'm always considered as such. Do you see how if I am not good enough is in my mind, it could create a bunch of negative events that are happening? Do you see how if I create one that says I am the greatest and always considered as such, do you see how that can create such a better experience? Perfect. That's all I wanted to know. So again, the way we define these are by using I am, I have, I do, they are, they do, he is, I am grateful. So I am attractive to every woman easily. I am confident in my ability to sustain relationships. I am confident that every woman that I'm in a relationship with is equally interested in me. We always do things in the I am tense. I have, I do. Never I want, never I intend. I mean, the problem with these things is if we do them, there's no guarantee that they work. Accuracy is critical here. Accuracy is critical. The I am, as I said before, is the awareness. I am Joe. That means I am Joe. I am aware of being Joe. So what we do is we do I am always viewed as lovely by my specific people. Now we're creating that. We're impressing that into awareness and it will manifest outward. Subconscious mind tapes. Again, so I am. So here's where the techniques come in now, okay? So the subconscious mind tapes, the I am tense. So again, as I said in that video, hypnotic voice or a slow, it doesn't have to be so quiet. It just can be something that is monotonous so that you can hear it, but you can also add emotion so that it flows. And then each statement should prove the previous. Meaning, if I said I am rich, I want to then prove it with the next one. Or no, I am rich is not a belief. I easily receive money always because I am someone who always receives money because money always seeks me out because I always find opportunities. right? So you always logically prove the previous statement so that for your mind, you're not wondering if this is true or not. Follow along in your mind. This is powerful, right? So something that's much overlooked is that if we follow along with the voice in our mind, then we're actually activating the power of God within us. Okay, we're actually activating that awareness. If we activate that awareness, then it will manifest out where there's no question. So if we actually use our inner speech to follow along with the subconscious mind tapes, all women are interested in me easily and effortlessly. My relationships are always perfect and amazing. I have constant, confident thoughts of myself. I know that other people think good things of me. I know that I'm always the object of desire for my specific person. If we put this in a tape and do it monotonous and we follow along in our mind, and if we repeat this over and over until we feel saturated, if we repeat this for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, if we repeat it through the day, right? So if we took 10 minutes through the day when we have time, when we're feeling okay, if we play this in our mind and we follow along, we will begin to feel the feeling of saturation. We want to keep it concise, one belief after the other, after the other, after the other, logically proving the next. Eventually, we'll get the feeling of satisfaction or satiation, satisfied. That's how we know we've impressed. We can also, and then we can do this day after day. Eventually what happens, what I found, is we almost get immune to it. That means that the spirit is full, that the subconscious has accepted it, right? So if you want to keep playing it, you can do it, but it's already been impressed. So what I generally do is if there's something big that I realize that's a big change in me, I will play this every day, maybe once or twice a day for 10 or 15 minutes a day on a time when I have time, and I'll put it in my earphones and I'll follow along, maybe when I'm driving. Another thing that I'll do is listen to it as I fall asleep. I'll follow along in my mind before I fall asleep, but then I'll just fall asleep. It's all good. It goes directly seeping into my subconscious. And I can do this day after day, week after week. But here's the thing. There's so many beliefs that we can impress. So if we did one belief for one night and one day, the next day we do another set of beliefs. We can interweave them. We don't have to just stick with one thing. There's infinite beliefs that we can begin to shape the world and how it works. So we can just keep going and fluctuating through all these different events day after day, these different beliefs rather. And eventually our mind will be saturated. We'll begin to see the way that the world works. All good things will start to happen because, again, it's not just beliefs. It's not just the way we think. It will manifest it out. So the world will begin to take shape the way that we believe it. Does that make sense? So basically, if we impress the subconscious mind with a belief, it will manifest out and we'll believe it at the same time. And so it'll be this balance of objective world and belief. Imagine your new self. So another way to do this is to look at yourself, be in first person and look at yourself and be in a scene. I know you guys already know how to do this, but to be in a scene where you're feeling the way you're feeling, where you're talking to someone about the way that you feel, and they're telling you that you look that way. For instance, if you imagine someone telling you, wow, all your relationships are super awesome, you have a really stable mind, and you repeat back and say, I know I do, or wow, your thoughts are really sound. You have a very peaceful mind. You always think about what you want, not what you don't want. How is that possible? And you respond back, I don't know. It just is. I'm always thinking about this. And if you feel the feeling, if you're there, see, talking about it is a great way to not know how it feels. You may not know how it feels. So talking about it is a way to impress it in your subconscious mind. Because what will then have to happen is the world, you will push out that scene. And whatever has to happen will happen for you to have that conversation. So for instance, if you have obsessive thoughts, if you think people never stick around, if you think you are a failure, if you think you can't get money, and you don't know how it feels to actually have money or to be a success or for people to stick around or to have peaceful thoughts, this is the trick, is that in a conversation in your imagination, you imagine someone telling you what you want to hear. Joe, you are so peaceful. You always make money, man. And you have the best relationships in the world. You're so peaceful. And then I would respond, I know, it's true, I am. So what I want you to do now for 10 seconds while I go fill up this water maybe 15 seconds, is imagine yourself in your mind. Imagine someone telling you the thing that you want to hear and you responding back to them. So take 10, 15 seconds right now and do this. Okay, perfect. Oh, thank you. So you can visualize, honestly, listen, guys, this is a great question that I just received. Literally, all it takes is one. I sometimes just have a conversation for 4 seconds and it manifests, right? It's not a big ordeal, right? Sometimes with the things we can do, it's very effective to take time and relax and take time to get into the mood. And that's perfectly fine. It truly is, but it's not necessary all the time. So even if you have a minute, sometimes you think of the new belief, right? You have this, now you'll have this checklist of like 100, 200, 300 beliefs, maybe, and you will be able to just, to take a second. So right now, when you did that, I would recommend obviously relaxing, getting in the state and doing this, but not even necessary with audio tapes, right? I'm just walking around in my day and I'm listening to it. But all I'm saying is every thought, if you can have a loud commanding thought in your mind or a loud commanding imaginal act in your mind for a few minutes, a few seconds even, it can impress. It's as simple as that. Let me do this now. Okay. Another way that's easy, if you can't picture the other person or don't want to, you can just receive a text message or email in your imagination. So for example, like literally looking right here and being like, whoa, I really am confident. That's so awesome how manifesting works. And I'm so confident now. And I know that people love me and I know I have friends and whatever. You get that. So this is the same thing. I don't know why. I just imagining your new self. Maybe this is the instructions. Yeah. Scripting. Choose an assumption to work with. Script in the present tense or current. So scripting is journaling from the future. It's one of the things I do very effectively, or creating fake artifacts that I'll read, like a letter from someone. And in terms of beliefs, it's extremely powerful. What I do is I concisely, so we have the list of our beliefs. And what I do is it's as if I'm creating a letter from someone else, or I'm journaling from myself in the future. And it's like I'm taking these beliefs and writing them in a journal, like dear God, right? Because that's how I write mine. Or dear subconscious, I use that sometimes too. I am so grateful that I am extremely confident in my relationships. Thank you so much for helping me manifest that I am now a confident, secure person who easily attracts money, or money easily and effortlessly comes in, and I always attract beautiful women, and beautiful women are always attracted to me. Something like that. Right? That's just funny, but like whatever. Does that make sense? Raise hand. Show of hands. And so what I'll do after that point is I'll reread it. I'll read it 5 times in a row, right? I am extremely confident in relationships and I am confident in myself. And I know that people are I know that everyone views me in such a positive light, and I'm so grateful for that. Right, writing that down and then reading it like 5 times, and you notice how I didn't go into flowery elaborations because it's crucial to stay within it. So it's not like I'm eating lunch today and I'm grateful. No, it's just like boom, 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 and then reading it, and it'll evoke a saturation or satisfaction within. That makes sense? Okay, perfect. Okay. You can even modify the past too, right? So if you notice like someone telling you, see, the thing is that everything exists now. There's no past or future. Everything's now. So when you draw upon a memory or belief, it just creates again, right? So if you even know something in the past that you can go back and have someone telling you something, that can still manifest outward. So if there's an event you remember and someone tells you something about yourself that you don't like, then you can go back and change that. And that's another way. I already said this, no flowery elaborations. Object of desire is crucial. Object in this point is the belief that we're trying to create. And so the idea is like one of the questions I get most frequently, and it's a great question. It's, dude, how long am I supposed to be doing this for? Raise your hand if you have that question, or if you've had that question. Okay. So if you've had that question, the idea here, now beliefs and assumptions are easy to switch, right? So since we're going to have like an object of your desire, you may have one or two. Like I want, if it's like I want wealth, I want a specific person, I want vacations, I want fortune, fame, whatever. I mean, everyone has different DNA. They all have different desires. But it's like with assumptions, the cool thing is that we have the opportunity to just do anything that we want, because there may be 20 things that we want to work on that would effectively change our life. So for instance, if I said I receive 5 times the amount of money I spend, and then I receive 5 times on top of that, that's just cool. That'll just go into my subconscious and it'll just keep executing over and over. If I said I always get a parking spot in front of the place I'm driving to, that's just another belief or assumption. I know these are funny, silly. I mean, the first one's cool, but I know that's kind of silly. But you can come up with hundreds or thousands of different assumptions that are going to better you, especially if you have troubles with thinking, troubles with relationships, troubles with money. There could be 20, 30 different things, 50 different things. You can add different assumptions in different audio tapes. You can do subconscious mind tapes. You can do different assumptions, like 5 or so in different types of scripting. But the thing here is like intermittent imagining and stopping is good, because we want space between the time that we imagine and the time we don't. Because, and as Neville says, and this has been my experience, and most of the testimonials that I receive kind of prove this. And the funny thing is I actually don't have proof saying that a continuous, nonstop imaginal act begets the result, right? That's actually not the case. So intermittent imagining, doing 3 days on, 3 days off, 5 days on, 2 days off, 5 days on, 1 day off, 2 days on, 5 days off. And when I say off, I mean so we're talking about a single desire here, right? So if the belief is like 5, if I do like a subconscious mind tape with 5 beliefs in it, we'll call that one objective. If I did 3 days on, 2 days off, 3 days on, 1 day off, or 5 days on and then infinite days off, all of those should be extremely effective. But to the degree to which you need to saturate your mind because of the firmness of the definite, that you have this belief in there that's horrible. Maybe it's 5 days on and 1 day off. Maybe it's 10 days on and 2 days off. But eventually what we want to do is switch to something else. So we can do 5 days, one set, 3 days, another set. We can go back to the original. Then we can go to a different one. The idea is intermittence seems to work the best for some reason. It just seems to work the best. So, and another reason why it works really well is because if we're continuously, and this is why the daily lists work very well, because we're not focused on the 10 things all throughout the day. We cannot be focused on 10 things at once. And so if we can go and switch throughout, all of them will have chances to take root in the ground and manifest outward. Does that make sense? Perfect. So what we're looking for, the keys are saturation and satisfaction. The way Neville talks about it, and it's kind of like the way that I found is true. It's like the act of creation, right? Like sex or something. It's like, this is what he says, but because he's in like olden days, he doesn't say words like that, but he writes it, and that's what he alludes to. And it's like, when you feel the satisfaction, when you are satiated, when it's like you don't want any more, that's how you know you've impressed it properly. Now, at that point, do you imagine more? You could, but it should be dropped at that time, at least until you question it again. But even if you question it again and you know you felt that saturation, you know you felt that satisfaction, then it's been planted. Now, to say it took you one day to do that, you can still do it a couple days, but then drop it a couple days. So that's the way. Does that make sense? Now, obsession is when you want to stop thinking about it. That's when you deliberately want to let go for a while, right? You want to, and if you have an obsession, then there's a belief behind it that's probably obscuring or feeding you those obsessive thoughts. And then you'll want to go in and get rid of that by reverse engineering it. Does that make sense? Okay. So I'm going to just announce what I announced before the workshop, and then I'll go right into questions. So I just wanted to say before anyone drops off the call, because I'm going to go into Q&A and answer specific questions for a while, but I mentioned in the beginning the VIP that I'm doing. So I just want to let you know, I just finished it yesterday, and it's essentially going to be one workshop per month, and then a Q&A per month, and then a community that's going to be strictly moderated so that it only talks about topics which are proven or systemized or that can be predictable, no limitation. The cause behind it is because of the community aspect of it. It's critical. What I find more than anything now is it is a relief just to talk to someone who believes in the same stuff, but there's also the risk in other communities that you're getting fed things that are very limited, right? Things that aren't true, things that cause our mind to impose limits, right? Beliefs. So it's rough, but so what it is it's a community, it's a live chat all the time. It's basically, it'll be strictly moderated. There will be one workshop per month, a Q&A 2 weeks after that, and then 2 weeks after that, a workshop, and then 2 weeks after that, a Q&A. So we'll all have access to the same ideologies. So I just want to throw that out there. I just finished the website. I mean, you could technically sign up right now if you wanted to. The first workshop is going to be the specific person one. There's like, you guys are the only one that know about this. And yesterday, I'm not going to release this for a while, but because you guys have already been here, I wanted to tell you first and give you the first opportunity. So I'll be sending that. The first workshop, I think I said it already. It's the specific person masterclass. The Q&A for that will be 2 weeks after, and then there'll be the community going on the whole way around. So basically just, so if you want to learn how to manifest, to make it into a lifestyle, it could be a way to really benefit you. So it's just like a monthly membership thing. So anyway, and that's, let me just write the URL there. vip.josephali.com. This link isn't even available on the search engines or anything like that. So you won't find it, but if you type it in, you'll get there. You just register or whatever. So, okay, so Q&A. Questions about the techniques. Now it's just general Q&A. So use the Q&A box. We'll just do general Q&A right now. Okay, perfect. Because let's say I create a new belief, but as soon as I say it, my mind says that's BS. The way to impress it on my mind is to imagine my new self, like in one of the examples, like conversation with a friend or email. Does that help the mind accept the new belief? Absolutely. It'll have the same effect. So the idea is, if you think you're lying, will it still be impressed? Or if I imagine it instead, will it work? Both will be equally effective. How come you don't post success stories? Of what? Post success stories about what? Anonymous attendee, about reading about the future. Is it okay to go back and read them or forget them? You can read them intermittently, right? So all these things you can do intermittently, of course. The idea is to get saturated. Sometimes I'll do it 2 or 3 days in a row for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day, even less than that, a minute, 5 minutes. I'll go back a few days later if there's no change happened. Exactly. You could also forget, right? You can imagine once and forget. That happens to me more than ever because there's so many things that I write down and I never think about them again. How do you know the seed has been planted? You'll begin to see the world change. You'll begin to see signs, or you'll begin to change, or the bridge of incidents will unfold. But you may not know. A lot of things happen. We have such a small perception, Jennifer, that we can only see what we see. There's infinite other space in this world that could be operating our manifestation at the last minute it gives it to us. How much is the VIP? It'll just be the same as a workshop. I mean, right now it's cheaper because it's just you guys. But it'll increase in like 2 weeks when I maybe start putting the word out. But it'll be like 1 month is like the same thing as this. And then for like a year, if you wanted to go in so you can get that full lifestyle experience, it's like 50% off or something like that. Is there any way to manifest multiple situations at once? Or do we need to imagine a scene for each situation? Depends. That's a question that it depends. I mean, technically, we're always imagining more than one thing at once, because if we're imagining a full scene, then we're impressing that full scene, which has many different facets. But I would separate the desires if I'm imagining actual big things, because then they become interdependent upon themselves if you don't. Right? So keep them individually so as to not make sure that the only way for them to happen is if both of them happen at the same time. Because the idea is that when we impress the mind, we take a snapshot of what we want, and then it manifests in that exact likeness. So if we have 5 things, like say I want a mansion, $100 million, a private jet, 3 wives, and a Pokemon card collection, and I imagine it all in the same thing, then all these events would take a snapshot of that one thing, and then all these things would happen all at one time in its exact likeness. It's ridiculous, I know. When I'm trying to manifest quickly, seems like the opposite happens. Well, see, that therein lies the problem, because quickly is afraid. Time has nothing to do with manifesting. Any reference of time is a fallacy. Anything impressed, it plants immediately, but then it's in the hands of God. It's in the hands of the universe. It's in the hands of awareness. You can't know when and how it's going to come. There's no way to ever know. So maybe the fact that you're trying to manifest quickly is impressing this fierce need, and need means the opposite of having it, and so therefore you're getting the opposite. I've had a difficult creating a chain of statements that prove the previous statement. Is there a list somewhere of the most common assumptions we can use? There's infinite different assumptions. I don't know there's literally infinite assumptions. Like, even if you don't prove the previous statement with the one after, forget it then. Just go one after the other. Just, it's going to be what you want. You have to think listen, this is an important thing. No one can do this work for you. No one can do this work for you. You have to do it yourself. This isn't yes, manifesting is the simplest, easiest fix you will get in the world, but no one can teach you to be creative and take the time to do this. You have to do the work yourself. Can everyone raise your hand if you understand that? Do you think hypnotherapy is great for changing beliefs? Absolutely. That's what we're doing. When we imagine and we shut off the senses, that's hypnosis. But yes, if you can find structured hypnosis that help you, as long as it's like, here's the thing that I found. It should always be in the I am tense or I have tense. Like, there's a book that I have called Instant Self-Hypnosis, but it talks about like, I will be, I whatever. That would not be a good idea, although it may have some effects, absolutely. But the idea, what we're looking for is I am, I have, I do, all that stuff. Last year, I was diagnosed with a disorder. Could the law of assumption help me stop this? Yes. So, but what I would suggest is, see, what happens oftentimes is the name of the diagnosis, and this is why I don't name things. The name of the diagnosis firmer instills it in our mind. So then we start becoming more and more the diagnosis. So what we would want to do is we have to stop, in a sense, claiming that. Right? We must stop claiming that, because even claiming it will make it true. Not to say that you probably didn't have symptoms of it. That's not even what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if we want to change it, we have to lessen our grip on the naming of things. And then we start creating the personality traits of a person that doesn't have that disorder. And if we start doing that, then we will become that person. My business is stagnant since very long. How to imagine for that? You could imagine, so this is more of a beliefs workshop, but you can imagine you saying like, my business has a vigor. It is actually, my business is very much alive and well and does extremely high number of sales. That would be, or everything I touch turns to gold, or everything turns around to bring me what I want. All these things would be great assumptions to help revive a stagnant business. Or an imaginal scene where you're talking with someone and telling them that your business is doing amazing. Is first person point of view important? Yes, it is extremely important. It's a 50-50 shot of manifesting what you want by using third person, and 100% chance that impressing it will give you what you want in first person. Third person has the potential to give you what you want, but it also, because what happens is we're taking a snapshot, feeding it to awareness, and awareness gives us back that snapshot. If you're imagining a person, like if you're seeing a being receive what you want and you're saying that that's you, but you're still witnessing a being receiving what you want, then it's possible that you'll receive a being receive what you wanted to receive. That's why just go into first person. Is beliefs enough to make a desire come to pass without visualization? Yes, just like the woman who believed when she talked to me, her court case would be resolved. Instantly, life-changing thing happened when I picked up the phone and talked to her. So should we script for beliefs or outcomes? Both. This is just the beliefs workshop, but you can absolutely still script for what you want. What if I have an assumption that something I manifested is permanent, but it undoes itself? I rid myself of pain for 3 months, assumed it's gone perfectly, yet it's come back. Then you should go about finding what beliefs. You probably need to do a more thorough deep dive, or you need to control your mental chatter. Another way you could do it, though, simply, this may be a solution, is to imagine, I'm so grateful for the last 10 years, I have been in perfect health. Then you've set something that says that it must be long-term. Can I work on assumptions at the same time as I am creating imaginal acts? Yes. You can do as much as you want. This is just on beliefs and automatic manifesting, so that if you're seeing that your beliefs are not coming your manifestations are not coming in the way that you want, then you now have tools to get rid of them and also automatically begin to create the world that you want. So for instance, if I had this belief that said money comes to me easily and effortlessly, then instead of imagining me receiving a big sum of money, if I create that belief instead, then I will continuously manifest it, opposed to having one manifestation come. With the subconscious mind tapes, do we add multiple desires or a single desire in a single tape? I would keep it near a specific topic. So I have one that says success, creativity, and dominance in my ability to, like in myself, like the ability to control myself good. So I did 3, but they're interrelated. And that's what it was very successful. what is the block in my business? How to locate that? So Raya, the entire workshop was on that. So what you've got to do is go through the process of reverse engineering it. And then once you reverse engineer it, like I said, I can't, I mean, I could do this work for you, but it's not really beneficial for you. So the whole workshop was essentially on how to find what to, like, what's the symptoms of what's going wrong. And then we say, okay, well, what beliefs would be there if that's true? Am I negative? Do I think that business is burn out after a while? Did I start taking a plunge of indulging into negative things? Am I start thinking about competition? We ask ourselves these questions and then we say, are any of these true? Well, if they are, it doesn't matter, because now what I'm going to do is wipe them out. When I wipe them out, I'm going to create a new system of beliefs, such as everything I do turns to gold. Everything that I do is successful, and on it goes. Where is this? There it is. Okay. Out of your clients, I find it helps when we see others succeeding. I still don't really know exactly what you're saying. Succeeding in what? What are you asking for? Videos or just stories, me explaining them? I mean, I've got thousands of them. It's just that, and I know that I agree with you. I just don't know what you're talking about. All right, I'm going to scroll down a bit. I have a random question. Do you know if your subconscious is impressed differently if you're under the influence of a substance? So the problem with substances is that you don't have as good of a communication. And the other problem is that when you are under a substance, a whole different set of assumptions are activated. So like, I don't drink or get high or anything like that, obviously. And it's mainly for the reason that I like to always be sharp and always be able to impress my mind. So I would say that there's a different filter of perception between the way that you feel when you're high or drunk than if you're not. And I always like predictable, so I always go for predictable. Can you get in the way after a bridge of incidents unfolds? Only if you hid in a safe or like completely cut yourself off from the world. Oh, wait, here we go. Let me stop sharing and just go here then. Cool. Should you revise a scene in first or third person? Always first, always first, always first. Can you have an assumption for a specific person? I am in a loving relationship. I mean, you can, but that's not really belief or assumption. That's kind of just, that's kind of like, that's more of a very specific. So assumptions should, yeah, I mean, the answer is yes, but really what we're talking about here is creating beliefs that are going to affect the whole world, right? So for instance, instead of saying I'm in love with Jane, we could say everyone whom or Jane is in a loving relationship with me and I'm in a loving relationship with Jane. I could say instead, everyone who I'm in love with is in a loving relationship with me. So it changed the tree instead of just the fruit. Can you put up the VIP URL again, please? Yes. So guys, listen, I just want to let you know, I mean, I'm going to stand here for a while and do some Q&A. Was this helpful? If this was helpful, you could say it in the chat. You can raise your hand. You know, so what I want to ask is what seems to be, so did I help you get, what I'm trying to figure out is the way that I reverse engineered how this works. Did that make sense? Perfect. Was that kind of a revelation as to change the world in a long-term way? That's kind of like how it was with me. Perfect. So I posted the URL. Someone asked, what is the VIP URL? So it's just vip.josephali.com. Wait, so can he see this chat? Yes, I can, which is why I really asked. I can see it now. Tafsir. Okay, Joe, but I'm looking at the Q&As. So, Joe, when I imagine a scene, why doesn't it stay long? My mind becomes turbulent. I can't sustain the scene long. What's the best way? It's going to be practice and discipline. There's no easy, simple. I mean, what you could do is imagine that you're great at imagining, but discipline. A lot of people give up and say that they can't do it, but that's a lie. It's an actual lie. A lot of it comes down to not wanting to suffer through the pain that it takes for the first few times you imagine. I want to become the highest paid health coach. What scene should I imagine? You could write down literally, I am the highest paid health coach. Or you can imagine someone telling you like, whoa, you're the highest paid health coach. These are all ways, very simple ways. It's quite a simple answer. Can you please show us how to use the mind map? Well, the mind map was just an exact replication of sorts of this. There's literally, did you look at the mind map, Brittany? Brittany Wirtz, did you look at the mind map? Do I meditate? I imagine. I do relax for minutes, though, beforehand, of course. Anything that gets me to silence my mind, but do I meditate without a reason? Sometimes, if I just want to commune with God. But I was a little, so the answer to the mind map was yes, but I was a little confused about it. So the mind map is literally just, and here everything is correlated exactly with each other. So as you see, it's just, oh, you can't see because I'm not sharing my screen. I'll just go into it, even though it's pretty self-evident, but just in case, I want to make sure that you guys have this loud and clear. So really what I've just done is I've just gone into the way to articulate the thought process between how this works. So if you ever want a quick brush up and you want to look at what's going on, like go here to the mind map and look at, out of the way, some of the stuff here. And I actually have a lot of detail too that isn't on the PowerPoint, but really it's just the way to think about this whole thing. So if you want to know about literally it goes exactly with the presentation. So now that you've seen the presentation, you should be able to easily go in and figure this out. And it goes into the techniques and it's very detailed, very detailed. Okay, hey, listen, everyone who has to leave, thank you so much for attending. I really hope that this was helpful. I'm not going to leave. I'm going to stay for a few more minutes. So, Brittany, can you please explain to me what you're confused about? Carolyn, if you have a question, ask it now. I tried to answer many of them, but ask it now in the Q&A, please. Scenes should be simple. By the way, in the Q&A is where I will accept questions. I don't know what you're asking about negative dreams. You have to be more specific, please. And Carolyn Denton, please ask the question in the Q&A if I haven't answered it. I'm sorry if I haven't. Are you going to answer, Linda? Are you going to answer the question? So I tried to embed them in the workshop. So what's the questions? If you that's why I'm asking questions. If I haven't hit something, ask me the question now. How do you feel about voting in politics? Do you get involved? Absolutely not. Politics lets you think that there's someone in charge of you. There's someone who can suppress you. I don't touch it. Can I treat manifesting a buyer for my house as I would manifesting an SP, or not getting that deep into the person who will be a buyer? So general is sometimes faster because you don't have to just make one person do something. They don't have to be fed a lot of thoughts. If you just imagined you signing the contract or having the contract already signed, it'll just bring a bunch of people in. Okay, great, Brittany. Thank you. How to stop negative dreams when you're assuming the opposite. So if you're having negative dreams, then it means that you're suppressing fears and you're not accepting your reality. That means you're hiding from your fears and you're just imagining what you want instead of looking at what you don't want. So what you would do is you would look at the dream. And so the question was, how do you stop negative dreams? So dreams correlate oftentimes with what our fears are, what we're suppressing. So what we have to do is we have to confront our fears or create assumptions which would wipe the fears out. How long do we need to visualize our wish fulfilled? So it could be a few minutes, could do a few days. I've went into that a lot in this, actually. So you could visualize it for 30. Oh, I didn't go into that specific. If you're asking specifically, it could be 30 seconds. It could be 2 minutes. I make my scenes like 10 seconds or less long, 5 to 10 seconds, sometimes 3 to 5 seconds. And I loop it until it feels saturated. When you have different desires, how does that play a role in things? So you should always make sure you know what you want before you imagine it. Maybe that's not, and that's what I'm talking about here. It might not be that you want to go back to school or get a different job. It might just be that you want to feel content in your life. So if you imagine saying to someone, I'm so grateful I'm doing something in my life that I'm so satisfied on, then you won't chase after false beliefs. You choose the target. Nancy, how long do we need? Oh, I already went over that. Dreams that are the opposite of what they want, will they come to pass? No, it's proof. Dreams that we have that are coming into our mind are often proof of what's happening in our subconscious. So what we want to do is look. So by the way, guys, if you're not, it's got to be in the Q&A. I will not look at the chat. It's not sorted enough. At first I was, but now it's just crazy. Dreams are an indication of what's in our subconscious mind and what we're suppressing or what we're fearful of. So we must analyze the dream and look at what is going on in there. And then we manifest the opposite of the belief that we would think would be leading to the dream. Linda, what do you advise when you have tried multiple manifestation techniques, the imagining, repetition, etc., and you are in the habit of never sticking to doing to one specific technique long enough to ever see the actual results? You end up constantly jumping from one course book, new technique, to another while still remaining in the same situation or repeating the same pattern over and over again. How do you break this cycle and actually reprogram your subconscious mind? Honestly, the honest answer is to like here's the thing. There's a lot of people in this audience who have been in that same situation as you. The answer is just like what I teach is pure of heart, right? It's just pure of heart and it's true, right? I've had the revelation, same experience as Neville's. I can actually say that Neville has the truth, right? I would say stick with one thing. I would say stick with you're here, which is beautiful. So I would say stick with these teachings. Don't go to any other book, any other teacher. Most people are after money or fame or subscribers or viewers. I don't give a shit about that, man. I don't care. You stick with this stuff works, right? I went from death. Look at what other people's experiences are. A lot of people just pick this up and they're like, yo, man, cool, dude, vibration. Like the reason I'm so passionate about this is because I was literally going to die. Like for years. So my point in saying is the stuff that I choose, which was Neville, that's why I teach it to people because it's true. So stick with one thing and don't give up. Give yourself enough time to test it. If you go somewhere else, that's on you. No one can discipline you. You see what I'm saying? It's got to come from within. You could even imagine that you've had the discipline to stick with one teaching. So subconscious mind tapes I make on QuickTime. What you have to do is get an audio recorder either on your phone. I use QuickTime, and then I use my iPhone. My iPhone, I take the recording from QuickTime on my laptop and put it to my iPhone and just replay it. Is it necessary to live in imagination during the day? No, and in fact, it doesn't work. Anyone who says that doesn't know how manifesting works. I've seen it. There's so many people that teach that, and it's wrong. I have never seen a case. Out of all the thousands of success stories that I've had, including myself, it has never been by continuously imagining you are that person. Never. Can you see my question? Angela said that. I don't think so. Unless did you put it in the Q&A? No, I just went up. Oh, here we go. I had a sound issue and I will need to listen again. Please ask the question again. Okay, Caroline, if I haven't asked something for you here, then just shoot me an email if it's too personal or something. Which would you use to sell a house? I would, like I said before, what I would do is I would imagine having signed or shaking a hand or having signed the paper already. That's how I would do it. If you have imagined a scene sufficiently to the extent to which you feel it is done in your mind, and you feel like your subconscious mind has been impressed, you drop it, but from time to time you have fleeting thoughts of the lack thereof, and you have no indication of your outer reality that the bridge of incidents is unfolding. Does this mean it has not been impressed? No, it does not mean that. Everything has its own appointed hour. Or is it just that you are on your way to your manifestation, but that you have created obstacles? You may think that it's obstacles, but yes, it's always coming. If you've impressed it thoroughly, if you felt that satisfaction or saturation, then it's going to come. You just have to be patient. Neville says experience of the promises precedes knowledge of it, and that you cannot request the promise. Does he ever say otherwise? I have noticed that he has had students who have received the promise after attending lectures will have received it. Yeah, I think you may have a slight misunderstanding of it. The promise just comes at its own appointed hour. And he also does say you can imagine for it possibly. So when I received the promise, though, I received it before ever knowing about Neville. I received it before ever knowing what it was. But it was confirmed with me like 7 years later. Why is it every time I give up on my desire, it comes back? That's what dropping it is. So, Nancy, that's a perfect revelation there. Anyone who says to consistently imagine doesn't know what they're talking about. That's why I say that. Because the thousands of testimonials that I have had coming in, it's always after dropping it. That's what's happened with me as well. Or not even dropping it. It's when just changing or looking at something else. If you want to manifest physical strength, can you do this without physical training? You will end up doing, no, I mean, it's possible, but most cases you'll end up going through a bridge of incidents that will lead you to become that person, including external and internal. Really enjoyed today. Thank you so much. My take on today was something about a weed garden before we planted this. It was weed the garden before we plant the seed. There you go. Perfect. Can we unplant a seed if we believe we can and don't want that anymore? So the subconscious is non-selective, which means anything that you impress upon it will be expressed. But what that means is that all you have to do is just imagine the successful end. Don't worry about things like that. Never worry about that. The more you worry about it, the more you make it real. Just imagine the end. Linda, would you recommend listening to the subconscious mind tapes during the night while asleep also? I do that. Yes, I do. Is my seed planted if I'm seeing signs all the time but haven't necessarily imagined to the point of saturation? Yes, that's not even necessary. It's just a point that you can know you can stop then if you want to. I've seen signs for a year, but my manifestation could be waiting for years with a sign. I don't know what that means. Oh, maybe I read it wrong. I've seen signs for a year, but not my manifestation. Could I be waiting for years with signs? Technically, yes. Every manifestation has its own appointed hour. Does it mean we have to wait to give up on a desire for a desire to manifest? Not give up, just change our thought process. What is the promise about? It's when God actually, through vision, reveals himself to be inside of you. Right? That's why I follow Neville, because he had the same experience as me. Anyway, yeah. Is there an affirmation that will help me drop my manifestation? I constantly obsess over it. So you're going to have to find out what you're obsessing over. That's why you have to reverse engineer this, Monica. You've got to look and say, what obsessive thoughts are there? For you to just say, I have obsessive thoughts, That gives no indication and no help. What thoughts are they? What are those fears popping up? What are you thinking about? Then you reverse engineer it back and say, oh, I must be insecure. Oh, I must have been hurt in the past. I must think I'm not good enough. Then you go and you create assumptions to destroy those negative thoughts, and then those obsessive thoughts will subside. That's the whole process right there, ladies and gentlemen. How do you deal with inner mental conflict during the transition period where you are actively changing your inner world to reflect? Does that imply the limiting beliefs that there's going to be a time delay, that there's a limiting? No, there is always a time delay. No matter what, the world must conform in a natural order to give you what you want. But mental conflict during the transition is natural. You must encounter a transition because everything must come natural. So when you are having contrary thoughts, if you imagine, you will still receive what you want. Just don't be hard on yourself if you have a negative thought. If you have negative thoughts, make note of it. Don't be hard on yourself, and then see if you have imagined properly to create the new belief. Sometimes I'm not sure I'm saturated. Can I? Yeah, you can create a belief that every time you visualize, you are saturated with the end result. Absolutely. What do you mean by change your thought process? I don't know your context. Sorry. How do you speed up a none. There's no speeding up of manifestation. It has its own appointed hour. What is your favorite personal manifestation? You mean, what am I after the most? Please, if you're going to ask, have the full sentence when you answer me. Can you speed up? No. No. You cannot speed up manifestations. They have their own appointed hour. They're going to happen in their own appointed time. But assumptions can help things shift, right? So if you keep working on positive assumptions, like everything is easy and effortless. So let me give you an example. If I'm manifesting $1 billion, but if I have an assumption that says it takes years to manifest, no, it takes years to accumulate money, then therefore when I'm manifesting $1 billion, it's going to take years to do it. So we want to be aware of the assumptions that exist inside our mind and change them. So technically, yes, I guess you could speed it up. If we create a scene, but now we want someone else, can we unplant the previous seed? Just plant the new one. Just plant the new one. Plant the new seed if you want something else. Whatever you want, imagine it. Don't worry about what you don't want. That's the key here. You've mentioned being able to manifest while depressed. Can you elaborate on this? Yes, mood has nothing to do with your ability to manifest. It's a lie from hell that tells you have to be happy to manifest. For about 6 years, I manifested positive things while in sheer depression. And many of my clients have too. So it goes deeper than just knowing that fact, though. It's the fact that teachers give these limiting beliefs to people. And so people don't even try to manifest. It allows people to think, oh my God, I'm depressed, so now I can't manifest anything, so I'm not even going to try. You can manifest if you're dying, if you're lit on fire, if you're depressed, if you hate yourself, if you love yourself. As long as you can close your eyes for a minute and imagine the wish fulfilled, you're good. You're good. Why is it that when we are not interested in a guy, they get more interest in us? Again, it's dropping it. It's always dropping it. The answer is always dropping it. If you're not dropping it, that's why you're not getting it. Does mental conflict affect the manifestation? No, just don't. Because the thing is that you must, so if it depends on the manifestation. If you imagine that you have peaceful thoughts, but the next day you have crazy thoughts, that's going to happen until you become peaceful. But if you're imagining being with a specific person and your thoughts are like, they don't love me, they hate me, they're going to leave me, it's going to be terrible. You've got to change those thoughts. Every time. So could it be as simple as saying, every time I visualize, I saturate my subconscious mind with the end result? Yes. Can you give a quick new assumption to override ruminating thoughts? They are the bane of my existence, Jack. You're awesome. Okay, ruminating thoughts, ruminating obsession. That's like consistent analyzation of a thought and what's been happening. I am so grateful that each action that has ever happened is in perfect alignment with what is to be. Meaning, everything that has ever happened is a perfect manifestation. And so therefore, to analyze it is to be silly because it's perfect. Because anything manifested is perfect. And this whole vast world is manifested. So analyzing something is silly because everything is perfect. If something has happened, and I've imagined the end, if something has happened that's not the end, it's going to go to the end. So my thoughts are peaceful and in accordance with understanding that I don't have to control what happened because everything is perfect. You see what I did there, Jackie? That was like deep. That was like really freaking deep. What is the key to letting go? Thinking about something else, literally, or imagining that you've let go. I'm trying to manifest a guy as my SP. How do I deal with him in the present when he's not my SP? You be present when you're talking to him so you don't compare him to the end result. But then when you're not talking about him and at night, you can imagine the end. You just have to be natural. You can work on assumptions the same time you can create imaginal acts, yes. What is the favorite thing you've manifested for yourself? Probably this success that I'm having now. I mean, but the thing is it was more just given to me. I didn't mean for this to happen, but it was amazing. I don't know, freedom from addiction, manifesting my friend being cured from addiction, family issues cured, money, everything, man, you know, everything. I love manifesting. You're welcome with the depression question. How important is it to maintaining a good mental diet? So mental diet creates. Every aspect of our awareness creates. So we don't want to be obsessing or thinking negative thoughts, but here is the trick, and everyone listen. If we have a negative thought, do not react to it. Don't say, oh my God, it's a negative thought. No. Just say, oh, I shouldn't be thinking that, and switch your thoughts. That's it. That's it. What is your favorite personal? Okay, can you give a quick assumption? Oh, we're already here. All right, so listen, guys, we're running over to the end. How can I best manifest healing for someone else? That's a question I'll ask. Just imagine them in front of you, healed already, and saying, I'm healed. Yeah. All right, so listen, y'all, I'm going to cut this now. This was actually awesome. I'm like super pumped with this. Super pumped. We can change listen, I want to say this. Some of these questions are absolutely outside of the realm of listening to anything I've said. Someone just said, so we can't change who we are by imagining? What? That's the entire point of this entire, yes, you can. Of course you can. All things are possible. Where did you get that from? This is what I'm talking about. People should not be commenting in the chat because that is absolutely the opposite. Imagine you giving my testimony. I will. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. Y'all are the best. I love you all. So listen, this is what I'm going to do. You guys are going to get the workshop. Give me about 48 hours or so. I got to edit it. There's like some things I got to do. If you want to be a part of the VIP, it's basically like an inner circle kind of. It's going to be monthly, Q&A, bi-weekly, community. It's going to be the best. It's just a monthly thing. I'll include that in the email. Try not to mention it to anyone because I don't want. I'll tell people it in the right time. But you guys are I don't just want anyone going in. You know what I mean? So that's vip.josephallet.com. But listen, y'all are the best. Y'all are the best. Seriously, I love y'all. Kathleen, I love you. Palma, I love you. Christine, I love you. Y'all are awesome. Stuff's here. The feelings are mutual. What? Why don't you just say I love you too, man? All right. Oh, that's improper. All right. So y'all had a good time then? Y'all learned a lot. Was the Q&A helpful? Joe, smile. You are too serious. All right. Take care, y'all. Love y'all. I'm glad. I'm glad. Love your funny, crazy side. You know what? That's what I am, though, right? I'm like, yo, listen to me. This is manifesting, right? Because manifesting is no joke, man. These people are like making a joke out of it. Like, yo, get this crystal and put it in your eyebrow. Yeah, snort this crystal. Oh wait, not crystal meth. Snort this. That sounded bad. And you'll be manifesting everything, man. Joe, when he's selling crystals, dude. Yeah, man, selling hella crystals. Let me take that money. Nah, man, I don't mess with that. Really, on a serious note, manifesting is there's nothing outside of you. If y'all don't believe it now, that's fine, but listen to me. It's inside of you. You never have to worry about the outside. It's inside. You have the power. You are the one true God in the form of your human, right? You are. It's not even separate. That's your true self. You have the same creative power of God within you. You impress God, He refracts out what you want. That's it, man. Simple, done and dusted. You are the operant power. All right, again, talk to y'all later. I'll shoot out that email. Check out the VIP. You can register, by the way, for the VIP website. You don't have to like pay or anything right now, but it's vip.josephalley.com. You register that way. You'll already like have one foot in the door. So, all right, later, guys. Oh, you guys are already ahead of me. Dang. You registered for the VIP already? What? Good. All right, later.